And we're back here at 7:08 a.m. And as promised, in the studio with us this morning is City Councilman Randy Christian. Good morning, Brother Christian. How are you?
Good morning, Brother Dave, Matt. It's a beautiful day in Lubbock, Texas.
In the neighborhood.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It looks to be real nice right now.
Yes, it
but
does.
I think it's going to get a little moist later today.
Well, it's going to 90% chance of rain today.
That's pretty high.
Okay, City Council met last night or yesterday afternoon, I guess, late. Mm-hmm. And so the big news coming out of that is that we're going to spend a lot of our taxpayer money on the Civic Center expansion. Why do we need to expand the Civic Center?
We are spending money on a plan that we may or may not execute for the Civic Center.
You guys have never spent money on a plan that you didn't execute. But
No.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, let me ask you this: what kind of plan are we looking at? Are we getting somebody to look at it and see what the needs are?
Correct.
And
then put a price tag to it.
And they're going to account for the Buddy Holly Center that's right there.
Right. Well, I tell you what, the one of the things that I've found in our Civic Center, plus it's how many years old, and we haven't done any significant expansion or internal improvements, especially in our meeting rooms. Very lacking in technology in our meeting rooms, where somebody can UBS plugs, those sort of things, where you have to go over there and stick a thing in the wall. Where we should the technology really needs to be improved in the meeting rooms, and that is a competitive perspective, because there are other areas that when people have, like our symposium that we're going to have Friday, we're going to have breakout sessions in the afternoons in those meeting rooms. So we need some new technology is one of the things that we need in those meeting rooms to be competitive for those larger conventions and different things.
Let me ask you this: as far as the Civic Center is concerned, and this what y'all are looking at, does this include the public-private proposal for a possible hotel there?
No.
Okay.
No, it's just the Civic Center.
I haven't heard much about that. Has that been shelved, the hotel?
Well, we really, quite honestly, I haven't heard a lot about it until we talked about it, 6 or 8 months ago. We'll probably be hearing something more about that after the first of the year, but has been quiet. It's probably in some planning or studying phases. But you look at the Civic Center, we need to expand it in some areas so that we can be more competitive. We've lost some substantial meetings and conventions over the years because it's not big enough, because some of those groups that have been coming to us year after year after year, they've gotten larger too. And their needs have grown over the years too. So they're not going to wait for us to make those improvements. They've moved their place.
Where's the nearest facility that's bigger than that?
Excuse me?
Where's the nearest facility that's bigger than what we have?
Probably pretty much anywhere but us.
I
think Amarillo is in the process of planning to expand theirs as well. Yeah. So they probably experienced what we're experiencing. They've lost some hip pocket conventions and meetings over the years. Because
you're talking about expanding it. Are you talking about expanding the? You've got the main hall, and then you've got that smaller hall. Are you talking about expanding those? Is that where the need is?
Both, and we need more square footage in both of those, and maybe we need maybe there's an interim meeting area that we could facilitate.
Yeah, and I agree with you. The technology certainly needs to be brought up.
Oh yeah, I mean, you think about when you go to the conventions and meetings that I've gone to. You go to we don't even have great AV equipment in those meeting rooms right now. And I think if we were to do nothing but update those meeting rooms with technology, we should have done that several years ago.
Yeah. Well, I was driving by just a day or two ago when we, my wife and I were out taking a drive, and we drove by the new Buddy Holly Center, and I'm impressed with the progress that they've made. Somebody told me they thought they had it dried in.
I believe I heard that too.
And air conditioning is installed, so they're working inside with like over 200 people. This is what someone told me.
They got air conditioning installed just in time for for it to get cold outside.
Anyway.
Well, yeah, probably heat's even more important now as we move forward.
But what I noticed was they are going to obviously utilize the parking lot at the Civic Center.
Sure.
For their events. How's that going to work if you've got a big event going on at the Civic Center, which can consume the entire parking spaces?
Well, there's quite a bit of parking to the west of Buddy Holly that's being taken up with construction right now. And so if there's some parking expansions for Buddy Holly, since that's not a city facility, I don't know about it, but I imagine if they're concerned that there's going to be a parking problem, they'll probably solve it once they open the doors of that place.
Okay. So you feel confident that there's going to be enough parking?
Well, I would hope so.
Well, and just to be honest, a lot of this big stuff that happens at the Civic Center could get moved to the Buddy Holly Center.
Well, and most of them are probably, a lot of those events are going to be
Concerts and stuff.
evening events that may or may not even interfere with a day event at the Civic Center.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so I those are good people. They'll figure it out.
I'm sure you're right. Okay. Hey, let's take the break a little bit early, then we'll come back because I don't want to start another question right now, but we'll do so when we come back after this. 7:14 a.m. Dave and Matt in the morning on KFYO, and we're back here on KFYO Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin.
Yeah, I just want to remind everyone that Sharpshooters over at 5220 Marcia Sharp Freeway is the biggest gun store in West Texas. If you're looking for a gun and you want to hold it in your hands before you buy it, that's definitely the place to go. You walk in, and the last time I went in there was last week. You walk in, and it's not just their gun room that they have guns in. Now it's kind of spilled over. They've got so many guns that it's in that main room. You need to go in there and check out what they've got going on. Also, if you're looking for a suppressor or optics, this is the place to go. You can get everything you need for your suppressor right there in Sharpshooters, and they'll call you when it's ready, but you can do everything you need right there in the store. Fingerprints, pictures, everything you need. So definitely, it's easy to get to right off of Slide at the Marcia Sharp Freeway, just right around the corner, 5220 Marcia Sharp Freeway. You can also go to their website at ssguns.com or follow them on Instagram and Facebook, and they'll show you your deals. And be watching for it, because coming up, we're supposed to have one of the managers in studio at some point to talk about what they've got coming up for Black Friday. And so they're going to have a huge Black Friday sale, so be prepared for that as well. Sharpshooters.
Okay, and we're back here at 7:20, and again in the house with us live this morning, Lubbock City Councilman Randy Christian, and talking about everything that happened last night and yesterday afternoon at the City Council meeting.
All day long.
Let's talk about
All day. How long did it last?
Bike lanes.
This was part of it, right?
Yeah. Well, and there was a big, story not that long ago about
Sunday,
the brick streets. Yeah, and the problems that we've had with the brick streets, and this is what my statement has been, and Dave will attest to this since I've started working here.
Because he hears it every day, don't you? About brick streets.
What if you want people to use downtown? If you want downtown to become the hopping place in Lubbock, nothing's going to happen until you have roads that you can drive on.
We've got a lot happening down there.
Yeah,
in
well,
the streets right now.
Well,
I'm down there every day.
Yeah.
Matt is Mr.
I
Bah.
think he's obsessed.
He's
isn't he?
Mr. Bah humbug when it comes to downtown.
Really?
He wouldn't want to see a dollar spent.
I just
revitalizing downtown.
Follow the yellow brick road to Matt's house.
Well,
We'll just paint him yellow. We'll paint him gold.
It's called redistribution of wealth when you take money from Southwest Lubbock and put it into downtown.
I love Southwest Lubbock.
I know, that's where you live. But the point is that downtown, we seem to be spending massive amounts of money downtown, and I'm not sure that anybody's going to want to be a part of what's going on down there. Large companies, stuff like that, especially with Rager Dykes moving out and other. I mean, you drive downtown, and there are a lot of vacant buildings down there. And I don't see companies wanting to move their businesses there when they can't even drive the streets without tearing up their vehicle.
After the first year, you're gonna see quite a few things happening in downtown, even though the brick streets are there. But I do think we need to address them.
Yeah,
we certainly do. They're 100+ years old. They're a part of our heritage and our history, but we need to do something about them, even beyond, as we were talking off off the air, there's some things that we need to do to those streets that have little to do with brick streets, other than that have a lot to do with drainage, big dips in the roads that are just terrible on your car. So we're addressing those, and we addressed those yesterday in our future needs discussion in our work session, and we're going to be working on that.
Yeah, and so what's the next step on this?
We are gonna wait to see what that master downtown plan looks like. They may have some suggestions on, and they will have some suggestions on what we do with the brick streets. But quite honestly, we will take that in consideration, and they're not from here. So I would imagine there will be some give and take on what we do in regards to their recommendations and what we think they should happen to them.
What exactly, or when exactly is this master plan supposed to be coming out?
We should have the final report in December.
Okay. One of the things that worried me a little bit was doing brick sidewalks. I mean, is that not going to be the exact same issues that we have right now?
That's just talk.
Okay. Well, I understand,
talk.
But I'm just saying that I can see maybe crosswalks, but when you're looking at sidewalks, I feel like that's going to be the exact same issue we're having right now.
For me, and I'll speak just for myself, I want us to do something with a good portion of the bricks that will retain our history and heritage, but make it more user-friendly in downtown streets.
Okay,
and that could be a number of things. I was telling somebody yesterday, some people don't know, but Indianapolis 500, they have, it's a small strip, probably about the width of the crosswalk, and those are the original bricks that were on Bricktown, as we all know what Indianapolis 500 is, and it's there. The rest of the track is state of the art. Whatever it is, asphalt. I don't know if they use that, our traditional asphalt, but I thought that was a great idea to commemorate and keep that little bit of history of Bricktown, which is the Indianapolis 500. That may be something we could do. We may take and do a couple of we do an intersection or a crosswalk with the bricks. We may do a little a people pad that's made out of those bricks at certain areas up and down Broadway, but we want to keep that visual element of the bricks somewhere, somehow within our downtown area. What that is right now, I couldn't tell you.
Well, there's so many people that come to Lubbock and have been coming to Lubbock for years, like my family, and that's just recognizable. Lubbock's, they've got brick streets, and they're very few and far between anywhere else in the country.
Absolutely.
They were put down in the 30s, I believe, as a WPA project.
Oh, I'm sure a lot of those were WPA projects.
Well, another one of Matt's favorite topics is, and I want to know, are we going to spend money on more bike lanes?
I have no idea. Haven't even had a discussion on
Do you
bike
know
lanes.
someone we could call?
No, I think you just hide and watch. We haven't had any discussion on the bike. If we do have bike lanes, I think there will be in other parts of the city that, in my opinion, that we should have some, but there's some places that we shouldn't have bike lanes, and there's some places that we should.
Well, I think we were doing it. We got into a big fuss about that the other day. But Matt, there was some story that we were talking about, wasn't it? That brought up the bike lanes.
I don't remember. I do know that I asked Councilman Massingale on air about the what do they call them? Complete streets, which is what Broadway is. Apparently, it's got the 2 bike lanes on either side. It's got the 2 lanes, and then it's got the center turn lane. And he said that that the city has discussed potentially having more of those at some point.
Well, I do think, and then once again, I always just speaking for myself, but when you go to north of Broadway and some of the areas where tech students are, where the North Overton development is taking place, and some of our more true residential streets, I don't think that would be a bad place to have some of those bike lanes for those students that want to ride a bike.
Well, one of the biggest problems that I saw about Broadway is that it got rid of parking. Texas Tech already has a hard enough time for parking, and a lot of the people who worked at Texas Tech parked up and down Broadway because there was actually parking lanes up there, and those are gone. They put bike lanes in place of that, and I don't know where they park now.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Probably on those streets that I'm just talking about to the north of
So you're going to take those away too? Is that what you're going to do? You're going to put bike lanes there, and you're going to take those away from them too?
Absolutely.
I'm
No,
just
I don't
kidding.
know. I don't. We have a lot to work as far as flow of traffic, both on Broadway. But I do think that we need to look at some bike lanes within the downtown area, whether we replace those on Broadway. That's up for discussion. But I think there should be some bike lanes. Especially around the North Overton development where we have all the condominiums.
How do you test for use on bike lanes? I mean, are y'all looking for places where people are using bikes? I mean, and how do you find that out?
I think that probably we would have some town hall meetings and try to come up with some sort of matrix that we could do, some sort of way that we could measure and talk to people that users. But bikers are like a lot of other groups that are dear and wonderful citizens of Lubbock. They're very passionate about their bikes and where they would like to be able to ride them.
Yeah, but a bike actually has the same rights as a car.
We got to run 7:28, 7:29, and we will take a quick break here from Dave and Matt in the morning and return with more after this. Okay, we're back.
Why are you giving me dirty
KFYO
looks,
mornings.
Dave?
What?
I said, why are you giving me dirty looks, Dave?
Because you won't stop talking, and he can't open the mics until you stop talking. Yep.
I don't like the odd couple.
Oh boy.
Felix and what?
You made me lose my place now.
Well, let's go ahead.
You've got me frazzled, as my father would say.
Now, Councilman Massigel, you got a text from him saying that no parking places were lost on Broadway, and that may be true. I just drove up and down Broadway and noticed that nobody was parking where I used to always park when I worked at Texas
Well, they
Tech.
know that's your space, so they're honoring that space in memoriam of you.
But my understanding when I did that was, hey, there's not really enough room to park here. But I could be wrong. I will admit I
wish
be
the
wrong
city
there.
would go in front of Matt's house and make a big old bike lane right there.
I'll talk to the mayor. Maybe we can have our next council meeting at Matt's house.
Hey, I would be okay with that.
I would make a
My
donation.
wife wouldn't, but I would be all for
It depends
that.
upon what kind of snacks
I'll make a
you're offering.
donation if you will put a bike lane in front of Matt's house. Okay, we have a texter. And by the way, we're talking with the Lubbock City Councilman Randy Christian, who's here to talk about all things city. And it reminds me that if you would like to ask the councilman a question, our text lines are open this morning at 806-680-2790. We have a texter that says, Randy, where is the city going to get this money for downtown now that the Texas legislature has limited the amount the city can increase taxes by?
We may have to do without on a few things, maybe, in the future.
Now, I want to make this very clear. The city is not limited by how much they can raise taxes.
No, exactly.
They have to explain why they need to raise taxes, and they actually have to articulate it, and then the citizens have to agree. And to me, that doesn't take away anything from what the city can do. It just gives the citizens more power if a city's trying to overreach.
I'm going to say approval process. There will be a different approval process if we want to go exceed that.
There we go. We have a texter this morning that says, Councilman, please listen to the majority. And then it says, Matt, stop talking.
Listen to the majority.
We hear that.
Oh,
we
what
hear that
exactly is the
occasionally.
majority here? Well, I think the majority would be, hey, you're spending too much money downtown.
How much would it cost to maintain paved roads for 100 years? That's another texter.
Well, that's an interesting thought that I thought of yesterday because I was telling you guys I drove Broadway from Texas all the way to University, and I think we've got our money's worth out of those brick roads.
Boy, no kidding.
No,
Yeah.
well, let's be honest, though. Those have been maintained in the past. They
have.
just haven't been maintained recently.
Well, and as we were saying, I think one of the bigger one of the big problems with Broadway is some of the big dips and the depressions that are in those bricks. But there's a few stretches of those brick streets on Broadway that are still pretty good shape. Now, I'm not saying I'm not suggesting we keep them all, but I'm just making that point. There's a few stretches, a few blocks that they're pretty good until you get into one of those depressions that are like a brick pothole.
We have a texter this morning that says, I talked Monday with an employee of a huge retail building owner in Lubbock, and he said that he's avoiding downtown Lubbock. And then he goes on to say, bricks are wonderful on a house.
I would agree. I would think
there you
if we do something with those bricks, I would think that would be really cool if we could build something, maybe a home builder, like the old Chicago bricks that you see. Maybe somebody wants to build a home with those bricks. That would be really neat.
Yeah.
So,
And I think there's some people that are willing to pay for those bricks too, that we talked about that. If we salvage those and maintain the integrity of those bricks, somebody's going to buy those.
well, and the city doesn't just have what's on the ground. They also have a whole load of them to replace them, right?
Okay.
Alleys.
And here we have another text that says, I drive up and down Broadway almost every day and very seldom ever see a bike in the bike lane. Complete waste of time and money. Well, you're not going to see me on a bike in a bike lane. But
Gosh, I hope not.
Yeah, that'd be an ugly thought.
There'll be an ambulance
Exactly.
driving behind you.
But isn't it good that we encourage more people to ride bikes instead of mom taking the 400 horsepower car to the grocery store to get a gallon of milk? I mean, wouldn't it be better if she rode a bicycle?
With all four kids?
Aren't
lost your mind?
Aren't bike lanes necessary for that?
I agree. The whole topic of bike lanes. Right now, we're talking some paint that's designating some places.
Yeah, like what does it cost?
Yeah, and quite honestly, there are a lot of other issues that I think are much more pressing than if we got one or two people using those bike lanes right now. That's great. If they're, but that's way down on the priority list of. We need to address bike lanes in the future, but the bike lanes on Broadway. I think we beat that horse pretty much.
I agree with you, Councilman, and let's get into what is actually much more important.
Well, we've only got about a minute before we're going to have to take a break, so why don't we go ahead and take a break, and we'll
talk about
symposium.
Sounds like, and then before we get into this, because this is something.
It's a big deal.
That is significant. And it's far
very
more significant than whether we're going to have bike lanes or not.
Yeah,
After this. Okay, and we're back here, and the time we got left, we do want to cover this story. And you snitched my thing there, Randy.
Okay. Snitched your thing.
Okay, we've been talking about bike lanes and brick streets, and I promise you, this right here is far more important than any of that. And the Lubbock this weekend, November 8th,
Friday, Addiction and Recovery Symposium that's being hosted by our city health department. The theme is Source to Solution, and it's free to the public. We've had some incredible corporate sponsors to help us do that, and it is one of the top three things that I wanted to accomplish when I was sworn in as a city councilman, because addiction is a huge problem in our community that a lot of people are not deeply aware of. Everybody is aware of addiction, but as far as how it impacts communities, our communities, every community, and really the world, people don't understand the addiction problems across the globe, not just in Lubbock, Texas. So we put this together. The morning the doors opened Friday morning at 8:12, because the number 12 is very significant in the recovery community, as many people know, the 12 steps of AA. So we're having a little fun with the number 12. There will be a number of vendors, at least a dozen or more vendors, that will be representing organizations and businesses that address addiction and recovery, whether it's Dove Tree, which is a treatment facility, to Star Care, which is a state facility. If somebody has an addiction problem, they can quietly come down there and seek some help and answers. If you have a family member that's struggling with addiction right now, those people should come to this and find out what the resources are available here in Lubbock, Texas. And I think they'll be surprised at the quantity and quality of resources to help people with those addictions. Then we go into the auditorium at 9 o'clock when we start the morning session, which is set up like a TED Talk. And because of the thematic is Source to Solutions, the source, who would be the first person we'd want to talk about that, is Sheriff Kelly Rowe. And we've had, the sheriff and I have had several conversations, and I think people will be shocked at the depth and the breadth and the quantity and the quality of drugs that are on our streets right now that are eating certain sections of our city. They're just eating them alive.
And Randy, from everything I hear, it's worse than it's ever been as far as availability particularly to opioids and other drugs. They're just flooding across the Mexican border.
You can pick what you want.
Yeah.
Pick your poison, so to speak. But the idea that the gangs and the cartels, they're here.
Yes, they are.
Then they push
I have said it seems like we have a shooting every day in Lubbock.
Well,
I mean,
whether those are related to drugs or not, that's probably I wouldn't.
Well, and the sheriff says that they are related to drugs.
Well, I imagine that a portion of them are just gang related, possibly. But then the next person on the list that morning is Judge Ruben Reyes with the specialty courts, and a lot of people don't know that we have one of the best specialty courts in the state and the country. In those courts, people that are in their recovery that may or may not be employed but are trying to make it right. It's a tough love court where they have to come in and talk about where they are, what they are, and what they're doing. And a lot of those people, for obvious reasons, do not have a driver's license. So one of the things that we're going to do with any proceeds from our Addiction and Recovery Symposium, we're going to donate those funds to the specialty courts for bus passes. They use bus passes all the time. And I think they even use it for other things, maybe the clothing or whatever, so get groomed up to go for a job interview. Then we progress the solution. Then we have Beth Lawson, who's with Star Care. That's a state agency that offers help to people with addictions. And then we go to a couple of, Dr. Sterling Shumway, who is with the Texas Tech Center for Addiction and Recovery. Magnificent presentation about addiction as a disease. I've seen this presentation twice. I would recommend you highly to come to that one. And then we go then to Kurt Kaiser, our friend Kurt Kaiser, who is very open about he's recovering alcoholic and has a number of years, like 12 plus years clean and sober. He'll give his testimonial. Then we have another young lady that gives hers. And then our friend Danny Koch, that we all know, who lost his son to a heroin overdose and died several years ago. And then they talked me into closing that morning session. I'll be closing it with the idea that we are all addicted to something. We're all addicted to something. Biggest portion of us is fortunately is not alcohol or drugs, but we're all addicted to something that I think that has an impact or a corrosive effect on our lives. Yeah. And it just goes on from there. And then our afternoon session is just killer. It's as far as experts in the field.
Mm-hmm. Who's putting this on?
This is being sponsored. The host, let me say that it's the host of the City of Lubbock Health Department, but we have a number of sponsors that have stepped up, and both in-kind and cash contributions, so that we can have this symposium free of charge. As expected, United is going to be providing some breakfast goodies. We're going to have a great lunch. In the afternoon, what's going to be fun, at 4:12, we're going to close everything down and go to a clean and sober soda pop reception. And we're going to have gourmet, the kind of the gourmet soda pops and stuff, and some food there too.
Well, Randy, I'll tell you, if anyone's wondering if it's a serious problem in America, it is said that we've lost more people in the last 12 months to drug addiction than we lost in the Vietnam War, and that was 58,000 people.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me. But
that's a staggering number of people that's lost to drug addiction.
Well, and I think not only lost to drug addiction, but if you look at one of the pages there of the consequences of drug addiction, as far as domestic violence, it's messing up our court systems. We're putting lots of people in jails, our incarcerations.
Well, and
there's just a slew of those.
Deaths from drunk driving and other things like that. I mean, addiction many times leads to other things like drunk driving. And as you said, people can lose their license, but that's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, they take out a family before they lose their license or end up in jail for the rest of their life.
I am so proud of this event. We have a family member that's clean and sober for 6 years. Mm-hmm. So it's very, very personal to me.
Yeah.
And it's a conversation we need to have in our community for a long, long time.
Yeah,
Sorry.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
We need to pull back the curtain and say, and most of the people that I have met that are in recovery, or even those people that are struggling with recovery, are good people. They're smart people. They're good people, but they've got this seed, this disease called addiction that is just screwing up their lives.
That's exactly right. And I have that situation in my family.
Well, and you think I equate it to cancer, and you guys know I'm a cancer survivor. Is that everybody knows somebody that's battled cancer? If you think about it, everybody probably knows somebody to some level that's struggling with an addiction.
Remind them. is open to the public. It's at the Civic Center this Friday.
This Friday. The only thing we would ask them to do is go to Select a Seat and register online that you're coming, and that's just so we'll know how many people we're going to have to feed at lunch.
Okay. And I think that'd be well worth your while. If you or somebody that you love in your family, this is where you can get some answers. Has a drug problem or alcohol.
It may not be the solution, but we'll try to move you towards that
you
solution.
can go in the right direction. Okay.
Exactly.
Randy, thank you so much. We got to run.
You bet.
Always glad to have you out here. Great information this
Glad to
morning.
be here.